All right, we're going to talk, we're going to read a little bit again from Simply A Course in Miracles by Alao Alani. That's my pen name. This is on Amazon. And I've been reading from some of the great mystics and thinkers, philosophers, theologians of the past 3,000 years. Today we're gonna talk about Meher Baba, which you probably have not heard of, but he was one of the great gurus of India of the 20th century, and he actually had a kind of a big impact in some ways on our culture, like in the United States, and I'll explain why that is. But essentially, he was born like 1897 or something. He died in 1969. 1969, as you know, was a pivotal year to the end of the 60s. One of the big things that happened in 69, and you know that I love classic rock. I was born in 1970, and I grew up listening to classic rock. So 69, as we know, was Woodstock, the first Woodstock. And at the first Woodstock, they actually had pictures of Meher Baba there. Someone, like, I have a photo of Meher Baba like on a telephone pole at Woodstock. He was definitely had an influence, and it had an influence on the hippie generation. And I'll explain. One person, musician, he had a big influence on was Pete Townsend of The Who became a follower of Meher Baba, and actually wrote a number of songs about Meher Baba or influenced by Meher Baba, one of which was Baba O'Reilly, one of The Who's biggest hits. Another was Pete's solo song that was a very big hit in I believe it was the early 80s, Let My Love Open the Door by Pete Townsend. It's a great song if you have not heard that song. Anyway, Meher Baba had a mystical experience when he was young, like I believe in his 20s. And it was actually it was initiated by a woman, an old woman mystic, Muslim. This happened in India. She touched him on the forehead or something, and he went into a deep trance. And when he came out of it, he was transformed. And he went into silence, actually, for 40 years of his life, for the next 44 years, I believe. From that point until 1969, when he died, he did not talk. At first, he was using like an alphabet board, and he would communicate through the alphabet board, and then he used his own form of sign language. He developed his own form of sign language. So he's a very, very fascinating figure. And the other thing to know about him, which I think is interesting, is that he declared himself to be the avatar of the age. He was the avatar of the age. What is an avatar? An avatar is an incarnation of God, a descent of God into human form. And he said he was the great avatar. And, whether you believe that or not, Meher Baba, did have an impact. The other thing that I want to mention is, because I wrote this book about yoga and psychedelics. One thing that Meher Baba did was he wrote a pamphlet called God in a Drug, with a question mark. And he actually had it. He was in India. I'm not sure if he ever came to the States, but there are some temples or some retreat centers that he set up in the States. At least one that I'm aware of. I believe it's in South Carolina or North Carolina. But anyway, by the way, I have met two people now who have claimed that Meher Baba came to them in the flesh, beyond death. He came to them and talked to them. So this guy was, he was powerful. But anyway, he wrote this pamphlet called God in a Drug. He had it sent to the United States. He dictated it. He didn't write it. he dictated it to his assistant. His assistant wrote this pamphlet. They got it published in the United States, and they got it disseminated so that it would help, hopefully, the counterculture movement, because basically Mayor Baba's position was that LSD and other psychedelic drugs were actually harmful. He said they're harmful physically, mentally, spiritually. Do not do them, he said. Don't get lost in that world of psychedelics. So that's another thing I thought to bring up. But anyway, here, let's read some quotes from Mayor Baba. We'll refer to A Course in Miracles as well. So here's the first quote. God and love are identical, and one who has divine love has received God. God and love are identical, and one who has divine love has received God. This is definitely in keeping with what A Course in Miracles teaches. The Course says, God is but love. And the but there means God is just love, or God is only love. God is but love, and therefore so am I. God is love, and I am love. So God and love are identical, and one who has divine love has received God. We could talk more about that, but let's go on because there's a bunch of quotes here. God has to be temporarily cruel in order to be permanently kind. God has to be temporarily cruel in order to be permanently kind. Now, this is a little different from what the Course teaches. The Course has, one of its lessons is, it's a famous lesson, there is no cruelty in God and none in me. Meaning that God is not cruel. Now, some of us have gone through very difficult moments in our life, and we've hit rock bottom. We've had very traumatic episodes. Some of those have led us to an awakening or to a spiritual journey or spiritual path. I think that's what he means here, right? It's not that God is cruel. I would read this more metaphorically, right? It's not even that God necessarily does anything. It's just that we want to wake up. So the God in us, that part of ourselves that wants to wake up, chooses to sometimes to do it in a traumatic way in order that we may, have a motivation to move, towards love, towards God. But let's leave that. That's a big one. Let's go on. Who says God has created this world? We have created it by our own imagination. So this, if you look at what he just said, God has to be temporarily cruel to be permanently kind. Well, now he's saying that God did not even create the world, right? This is what the Course teaches as well. God had no part in it. God cannot know about the separation because the separation does not exist. Separation is unreal. We have created it. Jesus says, we have made this world, we have invented this world. He also uses the word imagination. So this is very much in line with what the Course says as well. We have imagined this whole world. This is not God's creation. There is no higher or lower goal. There is only one goal, self-realization. That's the only goal, is self-realization. There's no higher or lower goal. There's only one goal, self-realization. Right? That's the only thing. There's no different levels to get to, right? You can get, I'm at this level or that level or that level. No, there's only one place, which is no place, which is self-realization. That's the only level. And that is beyond all levels. That is so next level that it's not even a level anymore. God alone is real, all else is illusion. God alone is real, all else is illusion. This is exactly what Shankara said. He said in Sanskrit, Jagat Mithya, Brahma Satyam. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. I forget exactly the exact quote, I'm sorry. But it's, the world is unreal, God alone is real, the world. Brahman or Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. God alone is real. God is real, the world is unreal. God is the only reality. Everything else is an illusion. This is exactly what the Course says as well. Truth is simple, but illusion makes it infinitely intricate. The person is rare who possesses an insatiable longing for truth. The rest allow illusion to bind them ever more and more. Right? The person is rare. This is exactly what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Christ says it as well in the Gospels. Straight is the gate, narrow is the gate. There are few, right? Few who have that longing and will really listen and will really go all the way with this. Truth is simple, but illusion makes it infinitely intricate. The person is rare who possesses an insatiable longing for truth. The rest allow illusion to bind them ever more and more. So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, rare is it is for someone to actually really seek God, right? It's a rare thing. Everyone else gets caught up in the illusion, in some way or another. Love and forgiveness is not for the faint-hearted. Love and forgiveness is not for the faint-hearted, for the faint of heart, right? This is a work. This is a great work. This is not. We're not talking about. This is not generally an easy process to get through that infinitely intricate illusion that we have invented or imagined or created. Well, the Course doesn't use the word creation. It says that we made this intricate web of illusion, and we get out of it through forgiveness, but that's not generally an easy thing. It's very simple, as Meher Baba also says, but it's not easy for most of us. It's a work. Love can attain what the intellect cannot fathom. Love can attain what the intellect cannot fathom. Remember Einstein, reason is the servant of intuition. Don't make reason the most important thing, because ultimately you have to transcend reason. You have to transcend concepts. You have to transcend the rational linear thinking that is basically egoic. Pascal had a great quote too, which is, the heart hath its reasons that the reason knows not of, or the heart has its reasons that the reason knows not of. The heart, you could say in the world of yoga, it's bhakti, the heart, devotion. The devotion of the heart can take you where you need to go beyond what reason can do. And reason can get us very much mired in the debate, right? In the tit for tat. We don't want to get mired down. Why is it so difficult to find God? Because you're looking for something you've never lost. Why is it so difficult to find God? Because you're looking for something you've never lost. Right? God is in your heart. God has always been there. God has always been with you. And you think that the problem is that we think that God is not. God is somewhere else. God is hiding. God is nowhere, maybe. But the reality is God is in our heart. We don't think to look in our heart. That's the problem. We look outside of ourselves for happiness, but we're not going to find it outside of ourselves. Seek a reality deeper than the changing forms. Right? So this is exactly what the Course teaches about form and content. There's endless forms, infinite forms, and God can take infinite forms. But we don't want to get caught up in the forms endlessly. We want to go beyond the form to the content. What is the content? Love. That's the only content, right? So that's the deeper reality that we're seeking beyond the form. The form itself is wonderful, but what is it beyond the form even that we really want? We just want that connection, that unity, that oneness, that being in that wholeness, right? Whatever that looks like ultimately, and I don't know if anyone really knows, although we may have touched it, but it goes beyond the form, right? And we have to go beyond the words, we have to go beyond the concepts, we have to go beyond the forms. Even the word God can be an obstacle, even the word love can be an obstacle. It's a reality beyond all words and concepts. We can't fathom it from where we are, but we do have to be open to going beyond the forms of things. All illusion comes and goes, but the soul remains unchanged. Right? So all illusion comes and goes, but the soul remains unchanged. Right? So God, or the soul, in Hindu philosophy, you have the basic idea that Atman is Brahman, right? That the soul, the separate soul, the individual soul, which is like the drop in the ocean, is really one with Brahman, which is the ocean, right? The drop thinks it's separate from the ocean until it merges with the ocean, and then it realizes it's not separate, and it realizes that the ocean has never changed. It's only the drop that went away from the ocean. And so we want to go beyond the impermanent to the permanent. What is permanent? And then we will know the truth. God cannot be explained. God can only be lived. Jesus says the same thing, right? I cannot explain this to you. There's that famous passage, God cannot be, I forget, oh man, maybe I can find it real quick. It's a journey without distance to a goal that has never changed. Let me see if I can find it real quick here. It's a journey without distance. I'll find it here in a second, I'm sure. Man, it's not here. Okay, the journey to God. The journey to God is merely